College students, how are we? You guys have a good Christmas? Raise your hand. Got a good Christmas? Had a good Christmas? Get a lot of gifts for Christmas? Raise your hand. Get a new car for Christmas? Anybody? Yeah, one person in the back is like, yes, I got a good gift. All right. Just curious. Hey, glad to be back this semester. Cannot wait to see what God's going to do. The last couple semesters have been unreal, and we've seen some things here I've never seen in my life. And I can't wait to see what God's going to do in the days ahead. You guys excited for this coming up semester? You guys excited about it? Let me just ask one more time, just curious. I'll walk off, you need me to. You guys excited about this semester? Is it going to be exciting? Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right. Here's what's real exciting. We're starting a new series called Bringing Sexy Back. Now, I didn't say bringing sex back, okay? I'm not talking about that, okay? It's already in style. All right, don't need to bring it back. In fact, as we'll talk about in week 3, it can destroy a lot of really good relationships. We're talking about bringing sexy back, like sexy, like exciting, God-honoring, Jesus-centered, lasting relationships. Not a lot of those these days. It's our hope in this series to bring some of that back. Now, over Christmas, how many guys are readers? How many guys like to read? 2 people. Okay, it's good. It's good because you're reading school. I get it. I was reading a book. It's called The New Rules. It's not the only kind of book I read, just in case you're wondering. It's called The New Rules for Love, Sex, and Dating. Okay, that's not my only type of book I read. But I was reading over Christmas, and this pastor is a pastor of a big church, and he talked about in this book some things he just thought all singles knew. But as he started sharing some of them at his church, he realized not everybody knew these things. And I was kind of trying to think, do all the college students know these things he's talking about? I was like, yeah, but their mom probably talked to them about it. Their dad probably talked to them about it. And I thought, maybe not. So what I want to do in this series is just tell you some things I thought you already knew. And maybe you'll know some of them, others you may not know. And I think this will help you because I get phone calls and emails, Facebook messages all the time of people describing relationships that have just fallen apart. And I'm thinking to myself, didn't they know if they did that, that would happen? Didn't they know if they kept going that direction, that would happen? Like, didn't their mama tell them about that? Didn't their daddy have the talk with them? You guys remember the talk? Remember the talk? The sex talk, you know what I'm saying? Birds on the beach. You remember the talk? Remember how it was too late? Remember? I remember the parents were like, Chris, son, we need to have the talk. Like, school, I'm 15. I already know everything, okay? I'm 15 years old. They're like, we need to talk about this. So my mom and dad were debating who should have the sex talk with me. My mom was like, honey, to my dad, you should have it with him because you are both guys and have similar things. And so you should have the talk with him. You're a dude, all right? And you should have it with the dude, your dude's son. And so my dad, he wasn't too sure about it, to be honest, about the talk. That kind of stuff's gross to him. Okay, it's gross. I don't know how I got here. But it's gross, okay? Doesn't like thinking about it, talking about it. So my mom's like, honey, you got to talk to your son about it. He's like, all right, I'm 15, 14, I don't remember, maybe 12. But I was older. I already knew. So my dad was like, son, we got to talk. I'm like, Dad, let's talk. He's like, we're going on a trip. Like a trip? He said, yeah, we're going to talk. We're going to go on a trip and talk. I'm like, all right. And so we go on this trip, we get in his truck, and he puts in a cassette tape. The guy's like, my name is so-and-so and so-and-so. This is Sex 101. There's this guy, and the guy has this thing, and the girl has this, and they do this, and they roll around, and all that. And he's going through this thing. I'm looking at my dad like, I thought we were going to talk. He's like, here's the thing. I couldn't really do it, so I bought some tapes. I'm going to let them talk to you. No lie. No lie. I got the tape talk, okay? It's like 7 hours of tapes describing this whole process. My dad's pale while he's driving along, listening to this guy, James Dobson. Y'all know, like, Focus on the Family. He's talking to me. He's driving along. He's pale. We finally get to the last tape. He's like, son, you don't have any questions about any of that, do you? And I knew if I asked him a question, he would die. I mean, I would lose my dad. And I wanted to ask him one just to embarrass him. I just wanted to say something like, so how is it in your 50s? I just wanted to ask him, but he'd have a heart attack and die right there in the car. And so I didn't ask him that. You know, it was still work. I mean, I didn't ask him that, okay? I didn't. I was curious, but I didn't. It's kind of gross, your parents. Anyway, so so that was the talk. Wasn't a very good one. Didn't tell me a lot of things that I needed to know that would have helped me in my future, and so got into some trouble I'll talk to you about at some point, but you know, I'm sure pastors in the churches I was in thought my dad talked to me about that, or thought my mom talked to me about that. Same with you, right? For me, I thought, well, I bet your dad told you that. I bet your mom told you that. And my guess is maybe a lot of you guys haven't had some of the conversations we're going to have in this series. So I'm going to be a dad to you, okay? Or a mom, but a dad kind of, okay, dad, really? All right. Even though I'm 32, okay, I'll be your dad, sort of. And so have some of these conversations with you that will make or break your relationships. These are huge. These conversations we're going to have, they're huge. And so let me tell you who's going to hate this series. If you're a player, you're going to hate this series. If you're a player, if you play, you're going to hate this series, okay? If you're just trying to get her as drunk as you can so you can do with her, you know, with her whatever you want to do, only to ditch her and try to find somebody else, you're going to hate this series. If you just hop from guy to guy to guy to guy to guy to guy, you just like to chase, you're going to hate the series. If you're a player, you're not going to like this series, because really the goal of this series is, my goal in this series is to help people not ever date somebody like you. That's really the goal. So hopefully if you are the player, I'm glad you're here. Hope you change. Hope that doesn't continue to describe you by the time this series is over, because that's going to get you nowhere in a hurry. So, first thing tonight, I thought you already knew this. I thought in the talk your parents told you this, but maybe they didn't. So I'm going to tell you, I thought you knew this wasn't true. If you're taking notes. The right person myth. That if I marry the right person, everything will be all right. That's a myth. Did you know that? Most people think that's true, because your parents didn't tell you it was a myth. If I marry the right person, everything's going to be all right. If I find the right person, if I meet the right person, it's going to be good. Everything's going to be all right. Now, this myth isn't that there's not a right person for you. For sure, I'm sure there is. It's that if you find them, everything's going to be all right. You see, your parents have learned, even if they didn't tell you, that's not true. Because you get married, and then everything's not all right. They knew how to fall in love, but they didn't know how to do love. I didn't say they didn't know how to make love. Okay, that's how you got here, okay? I'm saying they knew love is a noun. They knew how to fall in love, but they didn't know how to do love. They didn't know love is a verb. And so things got messed up. They tried to fix it. What's a guy's solution to any problem in marriage? Most of you aren't husbands yet, but what do you imagine is a guy's solution to any problem in marriage? Guy thinks sex fixes everything, right? That's what a guy thinks. Hey, something's wrong. Hey, honey, something's wrong with sex. Let's do sex. It's going to be good, all right? We're going to be good. Your dad didn't tell you this, right? Okay. Guys think sex is like a wrench, all right? Something's wrong. It fixes everything, okay? That's what they think. It's like a wrench. Fixes stuff. That's what husbands think. Wives think, oh man, things are messed up in our marriage. You got to fix this. Let's have a baby. That's what a lot of wives think. That's how you and a lot of us, me, got into this world, all right? They say, we have a baby. It's going to make everything better, and which is really brilliant, right? Just bring another person into a dysfunctional relationship. That's really a good idea. Guy thinks, ooh, that requires sex. That's a great idea. I like that idea. That's what I was saying. It's a wrench. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Some marriages, they're able to work it out. But I'd guess if statistics are consistent in this room, about half of you have parents that didn't work it out. And they couldn't fix it. And so they just assumed maybe it was Mr. Wrong. Thought he was Mr. Right. Your mom might say that. But he's Mr. Wrong. I thought she was Mrs. Right. But in fact, maybe she's Mrs. Wrong. And so then they leave the marriage only to go and do this again, thinking, if I find Mr. Right, if I find Mrs. Right, everything's going to be all right. And they keep finding out. That's not true. It's a myth. Second marriages are more likely to end in divorce than first marriages. Third marriages are more likely to end in divorce than second marriages. It's because this is a myth. You need to know this. You're not married yet. It's a myth that if you find the right person, everything will be all right. It's got a word that doesn't belong here. There's a word that needs to be traded in for another word. Here's the truth. Not if you find the right person, everything will be all right. But if you become the right person, everything will much more likely be all right. It's not as much about finding as it is becoming. College students, you got to remember this in your relationships. It's not as much about finding, got to find the one, got to find the one, got to find the one, as it is about becoming. Now, see what your parents thought. A lot of your parents, they thought, hey, if I just find the right person, I don't have to become anything. I can just be me because of the right person. Like, I don't have to learn to be patient. They'd never do anything to make me be impatient. I don't have to learn to be kind. They'd never do anything make me be unkind. And it's just not true. It's not if you find the right person, everything will be right. It's if you become the right person, things will much more likely be all right. Let me illustrate for you how powerful this principle is. Forgive me, I've been having some vocal issues. Denise was a college student in Atlanta, then graduated, and she was in the date scene. Dated in college, dated after she graduated, the date scene in Atlanta. And dating was kind of entertainment for her. Guys came, guys went. She said this. She said, you know, it's not that I quit believing what I used to believe. It's just that I kind of took all of that and just put it on the back burner for a season. I decided when it came to dating, my relationship with guys, I wasn't going to factor God into the mix. She was raised in a religious home. She was taught by her parents to have good values and good morals and to follow Jesus, but college and afterwards, she said, I'm just going to put it on hold. So again, dating was entertainment and, you know, she'd do things with guys. She'd later regret. There was some guilt, but there was a way to deal with it because everybody else was doing it and she hadn't seen significant consequences yet. So she's at this party one day and she meets this guy, Mitchell. And she's like, this is the guy of my dreams. She gets introduced to him. He's got the looks, she says. He's got the personality. He's got a job. That's always a good thing, okay? She's excited about that. And then she notices something kind of interesting about this guy. He was kind of different than everybody else at the party. He told people he was a Christian. And he wasn't just a Christian like Denise was a Christian, just like call yourself a Christian. It was like an integral part of his life. And when you talked to him for a few minutes, you knew about it. That's just how he lived. That's just what he cared about. And she found it, even though she wasn't really that way, she found it strangely attractive. She thought, man, I want to hang out with this guy again sometime. And so she leaves, tells her friends she really likes this guy, Mitchell, and wants to get together with him again. She's thinking, this guy is the total package. So she goes home that weekend, spends some time with her family. She's folding clothes with her mom. She tells her mom about this guy. Mom, this guy, he's got the looks, he got the build, he got the personality. I think this is the one. I've only seen him, talk to him once, but I think that this is the guy. And she said, Mom, you're going to like this. He's a Christian. Like he follows Jesus, and it's not just kind of a name only. It's really an integral part of his life. Mom, it's kind of cool, and I know you like that. And her mom was folding clothes and set the clothes down. She said, Denise, sweetheart, here's the problem. A guy like that isn't looking for a girl like you. And she fell to the ground in a puddle of tears. And she wasn't mad at her mom. She knew she was right. She knew he was different than her. And he was probably looking for somebody with the same values he had, not with the values she had. And it broke her heart. She cried and cried and cried and decided that day she was going to recommit her life to Christ. She was going to get things right. And she was going to start following Jesus again. You know, that story should remind you of a question that you should be asking yourself as long as you're single. And it's this question. Are you the person you're looking for is looking for? Did you catch that? Are you the person you're looking for is looking for? Denise was not the person she was looking for was looking for. And chances are, if you're not the person you're looking for is looking for, you're probably not going to end up with them, because they're going to want somebody like them, not somebody like you. So the question then becomes, if you're not the person you're looking for is looking for, are you willing to become that person? Not find the one, all that, but spend more time becoming the woman, the man, the follower of Jesus that God has called you to be. Are you willing to become? Because that's what I want to talk to you about in this series. It's so much more important than finding. It's about becoming. Because chances are, your list of things you want in a guy, your list of things you want in a girl, you want somebody that's becoming. And if you're not somebody that's becoming, they're not looking for you. So become. Don't just focus on finding. That's kind of the thing in college. I got to find the person. Got to pass the candle around or whatever they do. I got to find the person. Got to get the ring. Those things end up taking care of themselves when you focus on what's most important, and that is becoming the one. Now, I saved the best for last, the Bible. You see, if you open the Bible looking for wisdom on how to find the one, you're going to be searching for a long time. Doesn't talk a lot about that. But if you open the Bible looking for wisdom on how to become the one, it will leap off the pages at you. And here's what's great. Paul, in the New Testament, in 1 Corinthians, basically gives us a becoming list. If you want a list of what it looks like to become the person, the boyfriend, the girlfriend, the future spouse God's called you to be, 1 Corinthians 13 is your chapter. It's known as the what chapter? The love chapter. Those of you who've been in church, you might know this. It's the love chapter. And love is the glue that holds every great relationship together. And so he gives this to become list, this becoming list in 1 Corinthians 13 that you've got to memorize, that you've got to adopt, that you've got to be praying through and saying, God, help me to become these things, because I want to become the person that the person I'm looking for is looking for. I want to become that person. So if you got a Bible, this is awesome. 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Let's talk about it. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but a lot of you have a list for future husband or future wife. You have a finding list. This is what you want to find. Tonight, I'm going to encourage you to get another list, and that is a list of what you want to become. A list not for them, what you're hoping for and wanting in them, but a list of things you're hoping for and wanting in you. My guess is you don't have that kind of list yet. I want to give you one tonight. Let's look together. 1 Corinthians chapter 13. Watch this. Love, this four-letter word, is huge. If you want to have a great relationship, a great marriage, it's about loving one another. That's what Jesus said. You can sum up all the law, all the prophets. It's about loving one another, loving people the way Jesus has loved us. That's what it's all about. And notice, it's a verb. It's not just about falling in love, the noun kind. It's about doing love, becoming a good lover, not like in bed, but like a good lover, like doing love, living in a loving way. And so there's a list of verbs here. Love is a verb, might remind you of a song, you know. Here are some of them. Here's your new list that I'm going to challenge you to adopt. Love is patient. Does that describe you? Because chances are, the person that you want to end up with, they're wanting somebody patient. Is that you? Love is kind. Does that describe you? Are you becoming more and more kind each day as you're following Jesus? Love's not jealous or boastful. It's not proud or rude. Does that describe you? It does not demand its own way. Oh my goodness, okay? Love as a verb, doing love, not just the noun falling in love. It doesn't demand its own way. It defers to the other person. Does that describe you? It's not irritable. It keeps no record of wrongs, of being wronged. I guarantee you, the person you're looking for is looking for a person that isn't going to keep a list of things they've done wrong. Keep reminding them of it as you go throughout your dating relationship or throughout your marriage. It does not rejoice about injustice, but rejoices whenever the truth wins out. Love never gives up. It never loses faith. It's always hopeful and endures through every circumstance. And then it goes on to say, love never what? Never fails. Paul gives you a becoming list. So what you need to do is you need to memorize that. You need to pray through that. And then you need to find somebody really cute that's doing the exact same thing. And chances are, if you're becoming, not just finding, and they're becoming, not just finding, chances are you will get what you want, which is to live happily ever after. Because you got two people, not just doing love as a noun, falling in love, that's easy. That just requires a pulse. Staying in love, that requires embracing love as a verb. That requires becoming something, not just staying the same, but growing in love, becoming a better lover. That's what it requires. And my guess is this list for you might even be better than the list you have for the person that one day you're hoping to spend the rest of your life with. So maybe this list shouldn't just be a becoming list, but should be a finding list as well. And you should hold on to this, and as often as you date, and as often as you get serious with somebody, you are running them down this list. Are they patient? Are they kind? Am I patient? Am I kind? Because it's all about love at the end of the day. Loving one another how Jesus has loved us if you want to have a great relationship and a great marriage. Not as much about finding as it is about becoming. Now you need to know you can't do this on your own. You need Jesus. Paul in 1 Corinthians 13 was writing to Christians. People like Mitchell, not so much people like Denise. What type of Christian are you? Denise would have claimed to be a Christian. She probably wasn't, but raised in a Christian home, so she might say she's a Christian. Mitchell was a real deal follower of Jesus. Which one are you more like, Denise or Mitchell? Because if you want to have a great relationship, when you date in college, if you want a great future marriage, you need to become a Christian like Mitchell. Not just in name only, not just, oh, that's what I am, but a real deal follower of the Lord Jesus Christ. You say, how do I make that decision? Simple. You turn from your sin. We're all sinners. Another word you could use is crimes. You've committed crimes against God. They're deserving of hell because God's a good judge. He has a prison he sends criminals to. But if you turn from your crimes and turn to Jesus, he died and rose from the dead to pay for your crimes, to forgive you of all your sin. And all he asks you to do, not do something for him, but just believe. Just say, Jesus, best I know how, I commit my life to you. And then he changes your life, just like he did with Mitchell. And so for many of you tonight, you need to become a Christian like Mitchell. That's where it starts, because you cannot do this on your own. 2 challenges for you, and I'll be done for the night. First, I've made some cards for you. It says love at the top, and it has those 1 Corinthians verses on these, on this card. And then on the back, it says hashtag becoming the one. I would challenge you. They're up here on our subwoofers, tons of them here at the front. I would challenge you in a minute, if you're willing to adopt a becoming list, not just a finding list, but if you're willing for this to be the list that you're going to become in preparation for the one God has for you, I would challenge you to come up to the front after I pray in a minute, grab one of these, take a picture of it, post it online, hashtag becoming the one. Maybe you can post this. I've made a new list. Hashtag becoming the one. I don't just have a finding list. Now I have a becoming list. Because I want to become the person I'm looking for is looking for. So tonight, maybe for the first time in your life, you get a becoming list and you start praying through this. You keep this until you get married. You practice this when you go out on dates. I want to be loving, patient, and kind. Because this is the key to great relationships in college and to lasting marriages. So you can take this, you can post this, and you can start praying through this. Some of these are going to stick out to you as being things you're not doing so hot at right now. And you can pray, Jesus, help me. Help me. I want to become the girl, the guy you want me to be. I want to be becoming a great lover because I want to end up with somebody who's becoming a great lover, not just somebody who's trying to find somebody, hoping it's just going to all work out when we get together, but they're not willing to work. They're not willing to do love. They just want to fall in love. Doesn't last. Love's a verb. It's the hallmark of the Christian faith, and it's the hallmark of great relationships. It's something you do, not just something you fall into. So after I pray in a minute, the band starts to play. You come forward, take those cards if you want them, take a snapshot, post it. We'll leave this up here for you. And the next week, you want to come back. Mark was talking about some things I haven't said publicly before. I want to talk to the guys, just the guys next week. Ladies, I'd like you to come as well. But I want to talk next week about how women are treated these days and how women biblically should be treated. A lot of confusion about that. And so guys, I would challenge you to come back and listen. Ladies, you will definitely love this. But guys, if you catch this, I'm just telling you, girls will be streaming, okay? They will be forming a line saying, would you go out with me? They'll be asking you, probably not, but maybe, okay? So you will be irresistible if you catch what I have to say next week. But there's a problem in our culture right now. We're going to try to correct it next week. And so you're going to all want to come back and join us for that. So let me pray, and then you're going to have the opportunity to adopt a new list. Keep your finding list if you want to. But I'm challenging you to get a becoming list and start praying, God, help me to become these things. Let me pray for us. God, thank you so much for 1 Corinthians 13, for how you loved us. You set an example for how we're supposed to love others in the way you loved us. God, help us to catch it. Help us to do love as a verb, not just as a noun. God, help us to have great relationships and great marriages. Because we're not just focusing on finding. We know that ultimately doesn't last. We're focused on becoming the man or the woman you've called us to be. God, I pray a lot of people get a new list tonight, and it would change their life as they begin to say, I'm not just going to keep trying to find. I'm going to start becoming and let God bring to me the person he has for me. Thank you, Jesus. You're awesome. Your name. Thanks for checking out one of our messages today. For more information about our church or to watch other messages, you can go to our website at experiencelifenow.com. Let us know if we can serve you in any way, and we hope to see you real soon.